Good morning and happy Wednesday to you, NIO FAM. It is June 4th, 2025. It's a little over 1 hour into the market open, but I had to lead with this because I'm watching and tracking the NIO stock, and not just the price action. This is actually the key metric right here, the data point rather that I'm watching, and that is the trade volume at the bottom of the screen. If you'll note the ticker, I have kept it on there for a while. The short-term indicators that I watch, the trade volume for NIO. When we see big volume for NIO, a lot of times we see moves up with the stock price. And in fact, if you look over on this left side, this is the whole history of NIO stock. And the bottom here, the gray represents the volume. And look at where NIO stock made its massive move with that huge volume. Perhaps, maybe even likely, there was a short squeeze involved back then. And then as that volume dropped off, ultimately, once ETP products came in to, let's say, European markets and perhaps were aligned with maybe some naked shorting and things like that in the US and foreign markets, that's where we started to see the price action come down over these last years. In the meantime, NIO as a company continues to position and move towards profitability. And I'm wondering if we don't see a continuation of this big volume moving forward, along with an obvious uptrend of price, if this isn't the indicator that Wall Street is finally recognizing the pivotal point for this company and that profitability is just around the corner for NIO. I wanted to offer a couple other things, including initial thoughts from the most recent earnings. So let's start here. This is year to date, and this is all NEVs. So not just BEVs, which is the battery electric vehicles. That's all that NIO sells. And yet they're still ranking pretty well against the competition in China. And here's kind of a nod to that also, where I think we are. If you look back at last year, the numbers, this was the beginning of the year for NIO, and it was actually the April to May numbers. I think that's a bit of an indicator as to, or comparison for where we are this year with May into June. In other words, I think the numbers will go up quite a bit from here on out. This was May of last year. That was after I think the latest refresh was the ET7 in late April last year. And once they hit this new record of 20,544 in May last year, NIO then continued to deliver 20,000 and above through the end of the year. And then they, of course, had the big record at the end of the year in December. Now, if we look at this year, basically this is the reference to all the most recent refreshes that happened up to late May. And now they are going to experience their first full delivery month in June. Now, they gave us guidance for both June and the quarter. And with that, we're expecting now a 25 to 28,000 unit delivery number in June. So obviously they kind of give us something to keep an eye on. But this is actually what I'm wondering, and this is kind of the reference here. What about 30,000 monthly sales for just the NIO brand by year end? So let's talk a little bit about that, and then how this will align with the fourth quarter. The NIO brand with the potential for 25,000 monthly in the fourth quarter of this year. Also Onvo, the brand, and the target there is to have about 25,000. And interestingly enough, I don't know what the numbers or expectations are for Firefly in China and or abroad, but that is definitely an asterisk in my mind, a wild card that's out there. And there are a couple other things that could play into that, such as NIO Power, the expansion of power swap stations and alignment with investors and partners, helping them do expansion into other markets. I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that we're going to have to wait to learn about. But I want to come back to this because this is from the question, and he references 130,000 as kind of the fourth quarter number for deliveries potentially. And then here's William Lee's response, and he says, the equation you have mentioned is more or less our operational target internally as well. Regarding the monthly sales volume, slightly over, and I think this is a typo. I don't know if they used AI. I normally really like the Motley Fool's presentation of these transcripts, but I think this is supposed to be 50,000, not 15,000. And there are a number of kind of errors throughout this, I think. But in any event, if William Lee and NIO are targeting, let's say, a 50,000 monthly delivery number by the end of the year, I guess my question and thought is this: is Wall Street paying attention? Are they going to recognize that NIO could have a profitable fourth quarter? And by the way, you, NIO fam, I'm curious to hear from you all, because I think a lot of people are, on the one hand, disappointed about the delivery numbers probably not coming in for the full year with a 400 or 440,000 number. But would you be happy, or maybe even happier, if NIO can achieve a break even or a profitable fourth quarter in this year of 2025? That's one of the things that I'm wondering about And what I wanted to cover and highlight here just in this quick hitter of a video as let's go back and look at that stock price one more time and see what's going on. Yeah, now we're up over 22 million shares traded, and this is just during the trade hours. And so that's excluding whatever high frequency trading might have been going on pre-market or whatever other gamesmanship that might have been going on. At some point, I will not be surprised if or when we see shorts go long on this thing. I've talked about it in the past, and maybe this is just a one-off. Maybe we won't have a continuation, but if so, we'll be talking about it here and watching this thing move up in the direction that a lot of us NEO longs are hoping to see it continue to move. So thanks for stopping by. Have a great day. I'll see y'all again very soon.